what do you know? The Big Daddy G Show. The Big Daddy G Show. A second in eternity. Right. And can you tell us a little bit about what drove you to write this book? Why did you want to write this book?
Well, first of all, the experience I had, the near-death experience in 1977 was incredible, intense. The most intense thing I've ever been through my life. It was certainly the scariest time in my life and the most enlightening simultaneously. In 1997, February 10th, it's the 20th anniversary of when I had this experience. I was in Copenhagen. I lived over there in Europe in the 90s. And one bar I was about to play at, I was talking to a bunch of the waitresses and bar staff. And I said, would y'all like to hear what happened to me 20 years ago? And, yeah, so I told them a 10, 15-minute version of the story. And one of them, actually a couple of them, suggested, you should write that. You should write a book about that. And I thought, yeah, I've been learning to write. I've been writing some stories. I know that one. I should tell that story. And that's what inspired me to write the book, was actually someone mentioning it. You know, I thought, of course.
So, in your opinion, who is God, or what is God, in your opinion?
Well, there's 7.3 billion people on this planet, so you got 7.3 billion different opinions, I suppose. The way I would describe God and its ultimate state is infinite mind, infinite creativity, infinite love, infinite power, infinite imagination. And as humans, it's impossible for us to conceive of infinity. We can use it in math and so forth, but we really can't think in terms of that because we're limited. But unlimited creative power is what I see as God. And the interesting thing I experienced in my near-death experience, having been at one with that infinite mind for, it felt like billions of years. It was only a second or two on Earth time, which is why I named the story A Second Eternity. But it appeared to me that this infinite God, it's like there was two choices or two possibilities. It would exist, and everything would exist, everything would be possible, or it didn't exist, and nothing would exist. It exists, everything exists, infinite, infinite, infinite.
Okay. And would you say that God is male or female, in your opinion, or do you think there is no?
No, male and female are, that's yin and yang. It's the method we use on this planet to procreate, to have different people come. God's neither. It's beyond physicality. The one thing that I will say about God, and this is a discovery that I made and a lot of people who've had near-death experiences make, it's infinite love. And you can't comprehend that really when you're in the body, because our mind has limits, and when we're in the body, we experience human emotions. So it's hard to imagine infinite love, but people have had this experience and write about it in some form or another. Most of them talk about experiencing infinite love, and it really is infinite love. It's kind of ironic that infinite love manifests infinite possibilities. In one sense, it may be hard to get the two on the same page. How does infinite love mean infinite creativity? You can't explain it, but you can experience it. And that's what I was one of the fortunate ones to have experienced it.
That is awesome. Let me ask you another question. What caused you to die?
In 1977, I quit a band. I was playing with a band and started living back with a couple of roommates I barely knew. And over the next day or two, I started noticing everything was getting different. I could hear things before people would say them. My intuition was taking off like a rocket. I could see cars coming up the hill before they'd reach the hill, and I could describe the people driving them. My roommate would come in reading the paper, and I would read the headlines through his eyes. By the second and third day, I couldn't even imagine what normal life was like. My life was just completely immersed in this overwhelming psychic ability. I didn't know how to turn it off. I didn't know what started. I didn't know why. So basically had no choice other than just kind of go along with it. And it was scary, but it was also very enlightening. It's like walking the tightest of tightropes between feeling like you're going crazy and feeling like you're so enlightened and blessed and insightful. You didn't think a human being could ever see these things, much less me. Right. And this escalated and escalated and escalated. And the book's about the first 8 days of this escalating phenomena. And then, long story short, I got hit by a speeding car. I was a pedestrian. Should have killed me. I didn't even get hurt, didn't even feel it, didn't get a scratch. Well, I got one scratch. But between the time I hit the car and I returned back to my body, I left my body. And that's when the real near-death experience happened. I started seeing the first thing I remember seeing was the earth from 360 degrees, all around. I felt like I was expanding outward in all directions from the moment of impact. I saw my own body toppling over the car, but didn't feel attached to it necessarily. Sort of like, well, that's what goes on Earth, you know. Now I'm above it. Expanding outward in all directions, not like an arrow going somewhere, just a balloon. Planets, galaxies, stars going within me. Finally reached the edge of the universe, which seemed like an abstraction, a thought. Went through what they describe as a tunnel of light. That's actually a fairly close explanation. I felt like I was going through this spiraling silver, blue, beautiful clouds. And by this time, being outside of my body, I had no awareness of a me. It was just pure sensation. And I ended up in this, what I call the blue void. It felt sky blue, even though I didn't have human eyes. It looked sky blue, and it was this infinite love, this infinite possibilities, that I felt like I was there for billions of years. And I wasn't observing it. I was it. I was part of it, or it's like one drop of water being the whole ocean at the same time. Somewhere in this process, I felt like I was observing it, and I was drawn back the same way I came, contracting back into this spot that turned out to be this universe. And before I landed back in this universe, on this planet, I had no idea where I was headed. I knew I wasn't going to stay in heaven, so to speak, any longer. And I coalesced, I suppose the word, came back into my body, saw my body in the middle of Guadalupe Street here in Austin, Texas, jumped back in, and people were freaked out around me. They were screaming, they're hollering. I'd just been hit by a speeding car. Well, I didn't. I've just been to heaven and back. Yeah. I'd never been so happy in my life. I didn't feel any pain. I felt so empowered and so happy and so thrilled, albeit rather confused, because here I am right back in Earth, and I just got hit by a speeding car, and I feel fine. So the driver's trying to hold me down and thinks I'm in shock, and I get up and start trying to talk to people. I had felt these, I called them the monitors. I felt these guardian angels watching me during this week period. I never saw them, I could feel them. Right before I had this accident, I actually saw them, and they said, "Do you trust us?" And of course I said, "Absolutely," and I started talking to them. Then the accident. Well, when I came back in, people were kind of freaked out, because just a few seconds earlier on Earth time, they had seen me talking to nothing up in the middle of the sky. So when I came back to my body and jumped back in and was up talking to people, asking them if they'd seen these monitors, and they righteously thought I was crazy. I would have too. By the time the police came there and the ambulances, they're asking me what happened. Well, I tried to explain what happened. It didn't hit them very, they didn't make much sense of it.
Gary, have you ever wished to experience another out-of-body experience? Or have you had another one?
No, not like that. I don't think I need another one to convince me or to show me what happened, or what exists beyond the body. It was certainly a thrill. If I could push a button and take people there without going through the chaos I went through, yeah, I would certainly give everybody a ride, and I'd take another ride.
Okay. Um, how do you feel about being chosen to read the signs?
I feel very fortunate. I feel like reading the signs is using your higher mind. You know, life does not come with a guidebook, you know, or instruction manual. We have to learn these things. But one of the most healthy things about human nature is curiosity. If you never ask a question, you'll never get an answer unless one falls out of a tree. So yeah, curiosity means wanting to know. Wanting to know, from my perspective, means reading the signs, because not everything is available on Google or the internet. Especially the most important thing, spiritually, psychically, mentally, emotionally. Those are our personal turf. Nobody can screw with that unless we let them. They can screw with your car, your life, your house. But those intuitive abilities, psychic abilities, spiritual abilities, mental abilities, there's no limit to those either. So yeah, when you want to learn more, allow yourself to read the signs. I found out firsthand that the universe is always talking to us. But 99% of that, the subconscious, the conscious mind blocks it out, or there's a wall between conscious and subconscious. Most of it doesn't get noticed. We don't think about it. But when you do think about it, just like when you want to learn to play the piano, you practice. You want to develop your intuitive ability, start reading the signs. Practice. Practice makes perfect.
And can you give us like an example of reading a sign? Like, because there's a lot of people that aren't going to understand. I understand, but there's a lot of people out there that they're not going to understand what you mean by reading the signs.
Well, I'll give you an example. There's a lady who contacted me yesterday about a reading, and she wrote, "I'm very nervous." And I looked at her name. I won't repeat her name, but her first name was like a gem, a jewel, something precious, like a diamond. Her second name, her last name, if I stretched it out a little bit and put one letter in there, it would say seek and find. And so I wrote her back immediately, said, read the signs. You have no reason to be nervous. Look at your name. You're a jewel, and it says seek and find. And she wrote back, said, I never thought of it that way. And I wrote back and said, well, start thinking of things that way, because that's reading the signs. I saw that instantly. Many years ago, I learned a very interesting technique. I misplaced my keys for about the 20th time, and I'm frantically looking through the drawers, and my intuition spoke, and I listened to my intuition. My intuition said, the more frantic you look for your keys, the more they're going to hide. What are you going to do about that? Almost teasing me.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, keys, you find me. I just did a 180 flop on it. Done. I'm not going to go frantically look for them. And I kept that in my mind for the next couple of days. And this is reading the signs. My intuition said, frantic search, no find. So I changed it. You find me. 3 or 4 days later, when I found my keys, I went to grab them, and I got another bolt of intuition. And again, I listened. The keys said, we can't walk, but your system works. Try it. I teach this in courses. And to give you an example of how you can learn a technique and then double down on it, about 5 or 6 months ago, I had my keys in my hand, went in the garage, emptied recycling, swept the floor, working on some electronic gear and looking for my keys again. I needed to get some tools from my trunk. So I did my little meditation on the keys going to find me, but this time I upped the stakes. And I decided the first thing I see when I open my eyes is going to be a sign to tell me right where my keys are, right here, right now. Why not? Think outside the box. And as soon as I opened my eyes, there was a screwdriver between my feet that I'd left there, pointing right over the recycle bin. Guess where the keys are? Right. That's what I mean by reading the signs. You can see symbolism in your life. You can listen to your intuition. You can interpret numbers, colors, sounds, coincidences, what you overhear. You don't want to drive yourself crazy about it, but you want to open your mind up to the universe always talking to you. It gives you more power, it gives you more truth, it gives you more ability, and it helps you in the real practical world.
Now, you talk about meditation. How do you meditate? Or how would you suggest to people who don't believe in meditation? what would you say to them I tell people all the time, dude, you have to meditate. You have to get with you and just you. And a lot of people think, oh, that's crazy, you know. How would you tell people, or could you give us an example as to how you meditate? And maybe something that people that can do in their own home. They don't necessarily have to go out into the middle of somewhere or, you know, to be alone, but maybe like in their own home, or if they have kids. What can you give us an example of where they could go or how they could meditate?
Right. Basically, all it is, really, is getting yourself calm, quiet, and breathing deep and breathing slow. Sitting down, standing up, no matter where you are. Yes, it's a little harder to do it on a packed bus of screaming people than it is in your bedroom or when you're by yourself. So you want to get a place that's quiet. 5-10 minutes, breathe deep, real slow, real slow. Feel your body, feel everything in you, and try to cut off the logical mind from doing the blah, 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 blah. Because our logical minds will always play tug of war, you know. You want to get beyond the logical mind. So if it wants to talk, let it talk itself out. Eventually, you'll get to a point where you don't have to shut it off. It'll be shut off. It's practice again. Breathing deep, 5-10 minutes a day. Bring you right back into your soul, your heart. Imagine white light coming through yourself, you know. And once you start practicing a little bit, like everything, you'll get better at it. And it's certainly good for your health. Doctors now, science knows how good it is for your health. People who meditate are more relaxed, less stressed out, healthier. It's absolutely 100% a very valid technique, and I suggest to everybody, allow yourself a little time to meditate. Cut off the madness, you know, cut off the insanity.
Now, what do you say to people, since you've had this near-death experience, what do you say to people when they say there is no God? You know, we have people that are, people that don't believe in God, they're called
Atheists?
Atheists, yeah. What do you say to people like that?
Everybody has their opinion. You cannot prove God because we're humans and there's no proof. First of all, we'd have to agree on what the proof would be, what the terms are, and you couldn't even get that. You know, people can't agree on it. And certainly you have people that say, God wants this, you know, God wants this. Well, I don't believe in God because he can't be telling you this and you this, so I'm out of the picture. Everybody's got their own perspective. Bottom line, we all came from the same infinite mind and infinite soul. And maybe in this lifetime, your experience is to be a not believer. That's fine and dandy. First of all, we live numerous lifetimes. We're not stuck in one lifetime or one rut. We are stuck in one lifetime for that lifetime. So if that's your belief, there's a reason for it. You know, maybe you'll have a complete turnaround. Maybe you'll be a Catholic priest and turn into an atheist, you know. All things are possible, but just because you don't believe that there's an infinite mind, infinite love, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means you don't believe it. Again, you don't have to believe in gravity.
Right.
It's going to exist whether you want to acknowledge it or not.
Well, my father, when I asked him about if there was a God or not, he pointed at a table that we had and he said, well, do you think this table just appeared? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, did it just appear? And I said, well, no. I mean, somebody made it, you know. And he said, exactly. You didn't just appear. Somebody made you. So that was his answer to me. So, okay. I want to go to the readings that you do. How do you handle when something that's negative or something that you feel is bad is going to happen to this person? Or do you tell them, or do you candy coat it? Do you just bam, right between the eyes tell them?
Well, first of all, I have learned to look at everything in life as life's teaching me something. So therefore I look at everything in life, and I didn't always look at it this way, but now I realize I can use everything in life as a learning lesson, as something to help liberate me. So when I see challenges in other people, I tend to present them the same way. Some people think I'm too optimistic in readings, but my comment is always, do I need to tell you life's a challenge? You already know it is. So I'd rather inspire people how to face that challenge, how to read the signs, how to come out ahead, because you can't make it disappear, but you can handle it differently. So as far as negativity, I don't tend to see things in terms of negative value and potential they have. I tend to see them in terms of the positive value, the learning value, the liberation, the breaking out of the old. And I tend to inspire that in people rather than try to bring up something that's negative. Besides that, is it really negative, or are you just putting a negative label on it? Now sure, nobody wants their grandmother to be tortured,
Right.
but there's different solutions to things, and a lot of them have to do with the way you look at it.
Do you feel that you have reached the highest level of consciousness at this time in your life that you can reach, or do you think there's more?
There is much more. I have seen, for a moment, higher levels of consciousness, maybe the highest, I don't know. But when you're back in a human body, you're still dealing with yin-yang, human sexuality, human differences, history, karma, genes, DNA, you name it. So, yeah, I'm back here amongst us all. The thing I think I took away from my experience is the fact that there is a higher place to go, and it is accessible, and people can actually go there and come back. And you can start getting there by meditating, by opening up your mind, by thinking outside the box, by believing that the universe can talk to you. So no, I've kind of been to the higher level of consciousness, but it has affected me because in my normal life now, I maintain a lot better attitude and a higher level of consciousness than I did had I not had that experience. But no, I'm certainly not at the highest level I could all the time. We're always learning.
According to the book, you say that you're able to like sense people or spirits, around you. How do you sense them? Do you hear them? Do you feel them? Is it a thought? Is it does somebody tap you on the shoulder? I know that this may sound silly to you, and I'm not being silly at all. I'm asking because there's, like I said, there's a lot of people out there that have this ability, but they don't know what it is, and sometimes they're scared because they see something out of the corner of their eye. So, how do you sense people or spirits in the room? How do they contact you, or how do you?
I guess the easiest thing to say is it's a variety of ways, but it's not necessarily one particular way. More than anything, it's a feeling, it's a intuition. Sometimes I actually hear very clear voices. One time my father talked to me when I first bought this house, and he came in and I was sitting outside on the porch, and he put his hands around me and squeezed me and hugged me and said, "Gary, we know you don't know shit about this, but we're going to help you." Talk about it. And I still feel, I get chills when I think about it because I still feel it. Sometimes it's very, very close, very personal, very direct, almost visual. My roommate several years ago, his mom was in bad health. He kept going from here to Dallas and back. And I knew one time when he was leaving in the morning on Friday morning, I knew this was the last time he'd see his mom. And Sunday morning, I'm cooking breakfast, and I saw her go through the house in her blue dress, and she was saying, "I'm out of here," like a teenager. She said, "You understand, tell him, tell my roommate." So I did. When he came back into town, I told him, and I described the dress, and it was exactly what she was wearing, and it kind of blew his mind. It kind of scared him, but from what I told him about how happy she was out of the body, she was free, like a teenager, made him feel good. So yeah, it's all kinds of ways. But first of all, I know that it's possible.
Right.
And knowing that it's possible allows you to open the doors where that can actually happen. Believe, have faith. You'll be surprised what you can learn.
what do you wish that others can take from your abilities or from your book? What do you think people would learn from, let's say they can never talk to you, but what would they get out of reading your book?
Hopefully, I would think they would understand that even the strangest things we go through in life, there's a reason for them. There are no accidents. I went through a big challenge experience, whatever, and got rewarded more than I ever even thought. Another thing is that there is an absolute, infinite, loving, beautiful God. It's not Christian, not Muslim, not Jewish. It's infinite, folks. It's got no bias. It's infinite love. I would hope they'd take that away. And just because it's infinite love doesn't mean we don't have a personal relationship with it. We do. We came from there, and we are connected to that. So another thing is that there's another side to fear. No matter what you fear in life, there's something you can learn through that. That's why we're going through it. Life does not throw us coincidences. There's everything we go through. There's a reason we're going through it. And if we cooperate with life and say, life, enlighten me, instead of life, you're screwing with me, we're going to get enlightened instead of screwed with, because we're thinking about it that way. So basically the main thing I hope people learn is think outside the box, read the signs, as I went through a week teaching me that. Have faith, believe, think positive, think creative. Thoughts matter, so think healthy, be loving, be forgiving, especially to yourself. Love yourself. It's not an ego trip. It's appreciating what God gave you. Think outside the box. Realize that there's no limits to how much you can grow spiritually and psychically and mentally. Those are a couple of things I hope people would take away.
Awesome. Well, if you'd like to know more about Gary, please go to our website and find out how you can get this book. Gary, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you opening your home for us to do this interview, and thank you.
And thank you so much for your time, Big Daddy G.
No worries. Folks, thebigdaddyg.com. You get more information. Take care. Hi-ho, what do you know? The Big Daddy G Show. The Big Daddy G Show.
Can we all just get up on the Big Daddy G Show? Yeah, man.
Why clean your room when you can do some shrooms? The Big Daddy G Show.
Hi-ho, what do you know? The Big Daddy G Show. The Big Daddy G Show.